Hello, and welcome to a brand new episode of the Uncovering Greatness podcast. As always, I am your co-host, Suleiman Steele, and today we are joined again by Nicole Mitchell. And for those of you who are joining us for the first time, so the Uncovering Greatness podcast is basically a podcast for business owners, entrepreneurs, and even individuals to help you with business, sales, mindset, money. And every week on the podcast we cover a topic that we cover for the month, and this month we are talking drawing a line in the sand. It's been a fun topic, we've enjoyed it. I think we've got 2 weeks left of it. So yeah, if you guys have any questions or comments, don't forget you can leave them in the comment section and we will respond to you. But Nicole, how are you doing?
Good, thank you, Sully. It is good to be here.
So tell the people about who you are. Those are the people who don't know who you are, the people who have never heard you before. Please, can you introduce yourself?
Yeah, so as Sully said, my name is Nicole. I'm part of the Uncovering Greatness team, and what I bring to the team is I help you get yourself out of the way of you. How many of you know exactly what you need to do, but you just can't bring yourself to do it, whether it's to eat healthy, whether it's to get enough sleep, whether it's to check your bank accounts, whether it's to fire an employee or hire an employee, whatever it is. We all know there's things we need to do and we just can't bring ourselves to do it. And so what I do is I help you get yourself out of the way of you so that you can do more, have more, and be more.
Nice. So first, the first thing I actually wanted to touch on, because I remember it quite clearly from Circle last week. For those of you who don't know, we do a breakfast called the Circle of Influence breakfast every Thursday at Corporate Conference Center in Edenvale. And something you had spoken about, you basically had touched on your journey of becoming a processor, right? And you knew that you had to do what you had to do.
Correct.
Go to the States. You knew that you had to do it, but your bank balance was not communicating the same thing to you. But you drew a line in the sand and you were like, I have to do this.
Yes.
Please, can you tell the people that story? Because I actually think that for me ties in beautifully into drawing a line in the sand.
So it was one of the courses that I wanted to do, and I'd heard it being spoken about. It was the next step in my journey as a processor or a life force recovery coach. And pretty much I knew that the cost of the course was $10,000 US. And I didn't have $10,000 US, and I, was like, okay, cool. So I mentioned to my business partner that I would really like to do the course, and he said, that's great, you're more than welcome to go and do it. And he said, as long as you pay for it. And at the time I was thinking, that's awful. Like, how can you, the company's paid for so many things for me, blah, 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 blah. Why can't they just pay for this? But at the same time, I also knew that was part of my journey. And it was also so important for me to be able to pay for a course that I wanted to do so that I could own it. And so one of the things that happened was I just set my intentions on it. It was like, I'm going to generate enough income to pay for the course. And it was probably about August, maybe July, August. And the course that they were doing, they don't do it all the time. They sometimes they do it once a year, sometimes they do it once every second year. And in this particular case, and generally you have to go to the US to do the course. They don't do it. I don't think they often do it online, but they had enough students to make it happen online for that. And then also you didn't have to go to the US. So that was part of the costs that were like, oh wow, I can actually make this happen because now I don't have to pay for flights and accommodation. And so I think it was the 1st of August, and I think I had like $20 US in my bank account, and I had to get to 10,000. And I set myself the intention that come December it was going to happen. And I worked so tirelessly and I put every cent that I could into generating this 10,000 US. And instead of taking me, it was August, September, October, so I literally had 5 months to do it. And the the people that were doing the course were incredibly gracious, and they said, well, if you've got like 75%, well, you know, you're good for the last sort of 25%. So, and I worked my butt off, and by the 31st of October, I think it was, so instead of taking the 5 months, I did it in 3, and I had the 10,000 US. And I was so excited because I was very clear on exactly how I was going to do it, exactly what I needed to do, how many clients I needed to see, how many clients I needed to bill, and I did. And the momentum from that, driving that 10,000 US, carried on into the January of the next year, just in terms of helping with me generating income. But it was a point where I drew a line in the sand, and I worked hard. I don't think my family saw me, because I was seeing like clients in Australia and the US, and so it meant that I could work, I won't say 24/7, but I could work a lot of time around the clock, because I was seeing clients in the US late at night, and I was seeing clients in Australia early in the morning, and I just really made it all kind of work together to generate that income. And I'm super, super grateful that I did, because I drew a line in the sand. It was like, it's not negotiable. I don't know when they're going to do this course again, because it doesn't happen every year. You know, if I don't do it now, it might be another 2 years before I do it. And so, yeah, it was a decision that I made. And the moment I could see how I could generate the 10,000, it was like done. And I think a lot of times people don't, they kind of, that would be nice, but they don't actually think about what is it going to look like? How am I going to break it down? And when you do that and you break it down into the little steps and you work out how you're actually going to get there, it's so much easier to do, and it's so much easier to draw a line in the sand, because you know exactly what you need to do, and you've got to keep doing it. And if for example, I did everything that I needed to do, and I only got 75% of the way, I knew it would be okay, because they were going to help me.
Yeah.
You know, they said, it's okay, we'll, you know, you're good for the balance. So for me, it was just like, I just need to do the steps. I need to, like, phone clients, book clients, deliver processing. Phone, book, deliver. Phone, book, deliver. And that was pretty much all I did.
I mean, so for me, what, like, the fascinating part about that story is, I mean, so you drew a line in the sand for one thing, right? For the course that you were to do, the $10,000. But how much did the experience of you having to generate that money, right? So you had to, you were processing people, so you had to do what you do. How invaluable was that experience actually, in terms of you having to process all these people while trying to still improve yourself as a processor?
Well, I was going to improve myself because I had to deliver effective sessions, because clients aren't going to come back if you don't deliver effective sessions. So, you know, the learning in terms of was how much capacity did I have? And I was very clear with my family as well, because it was like, guys, you're not going to see me for the next 3 months, because these are my goals. This is what I'm going to do. And it really increased my capacity as to how many clients I could see in a day. So, you know, typically you want to be seeing anywhere from 3 to 5 clients in a day. Okay. Well, I was doing more than that. I was doing 6 to 7 clients a day.
Yeah.
Which it really did increase my capacity in terms of how much I could actually deal with and process. So as a processor, I definitely got a lot better, because I grew my capacity. So I knew that I could deliver a lot more than what I was delivering previously.
I mean, that's important, right? Because, like, drawing the line in the sand for I don't even want to say, I feel like it's more of a goal than it is a dream. For the goal, there's a bunch of stuff that happens in between that may not be part of the goal, but it's...
Yeah, there's always stuff that happens when you set an intention and you do the work. And that's where, you know, in terms of in our network marketing business that we used to be part of, my mentor always used to say, do the work and leave room for the miracle. And it's so true. When you do the work, you draw a line in the sand, you're working towards a goal, things happen that you don't expect. So, people will phone you from out of the blue and say, oh, I want to buy this, or oh, can you do this, or I've got a friend who needs this, or can you help me here? And then suddenly where you thought you lost something, you gained it somewhere else. And those kind of, I say miracles, those unexpected things happen when you do the work. And that's one of the biggest things is when you set the goal, you do the work, you'll be surprised at how much stuff actually comes to you without you doing the work. But it's just people suddenly that will say, oh, my cousin needs you to do this, or my cousin, has been looking for this product, and then the cousin comes and the cousin orders one thing and you're like, that was worth $20. And then the cousin goes, but if this works, I'm taking it home to my wife, and if it works, I'll buy 200 of them. And you're like, what? and those are the kind of things that start to happen when you draw a line in the sand. And they generally don't happen at the beginning. They happen closer to the end when you are in momentum and that stuff's happening and you're driving towards your goal and you're kind of hoping, man, I don't know how I'm going to get there, but I've done all this work. And the magic happens in the work, when you do the work. And, I see it so often. People are sitting waiting for the work to come to them. Mm-hmm. They draw a line in the sand and they go, right, let's say, I'm going to do this course. Yeah. When I have the money. Mm. But the money's never going to come if you don't do the work.
It's not going to fall from the sky.
So you've got to go out and you've got to reach for it, and you've got to stretch yourself and you've got to push yourself. And it's in that reaching and stretching that the miracles happen. And, and people go, oh, you're so lucky.
Yeah, because I did the work.
And then, no, I'm not lucky. I worked damn freaking hard to get here.
100%.
So it is. It's people, when you do the work, it's amazing what happens. And often things happen in the most unexpected ways. Mm.
And because I think, a lot of what you taught around at Circle this past week was actually really powerful. And you spoke about the journey between you and one of your teammates for CrossFit and drawing a line in the sand for something you actually didn't really know too much about, would you say? You didn't really have all the information.
So we didn't have all the information. I knew it was going to be tough, but we didn't have all the information. And so what happens often in CrossFit is they will, particularly in competitions, you enter the competition and then you don't know what the workouts are going to be. You don't know what they're going to give you to do. And then as you get closer to the workout, sort of sometimes it's 2 weeks before, sometimes it's a month before, they'll start releasing some of the workouts. But they don't give you all the information on the workout. So they'll tell you, this is what you have to do, but they don't tell you who has to do it. So, for example, they'll say you have to do pull-ups and push-ups and sit-ups and they give you all the quantities, but then they don't tell you how it's going to work on the day. Do you have to do 10 and I do 10? If there's 50, you do 10. We alternate the 10, 10, 10, 10. Yeah. Or do I have to do all 50 and then you have to do all 50? Or is it a case of you do the sit-ups while I do the the lunges, or that sort of thing? Sometimes you're not 100% sure how it's going to work. Yeah. And so if you get a partner that can't do something, like say for example, I can do pull-ups and you can't, sometimes in workouts you can get away with, well, I'll do all the pull-ups and you do all the sit-ups. But if they turn it around and say, right, you've got to do 10 and you've got to do 10, then suddenly you can't do 10, well, that puts, we get stopped. So those are when we talk, you don't know everything, those are some of the things that you don't always know. And so it was incredibly challenging for us because we worked super hard on a lot of things because we didn't know what they were going to give us to do.
So I asked that question because I think that would you think that the same applies to business and drawing a line in the sand? You don't know what's coming at the end of it, right? But if you draw the line and you're like, this is what we're doing for the next 3 months, this is the focus. We don't know what's going to happen at the end of it. but we're going to put in the work to get there. How important is that when running a business and running a team?
Yeah, it's super. Well, that is it. Because it's just, if I go back to the CrossFit comp, you don't know what's coming at the end. And so when you put the work in, you'll be surprised, who will support you. And if I look at, you'll be surprised at the people that come and support you, the people that you didn't realize had your back, that suddenly have your back. It's really powerful when you're actually in that situation. So if I use the example, the one workout we did it a number of times, and so the time limit on the workout was 10 minutes. And when we practiced that workout, at no time were we anywhere under 12 minutes. And maybe 11 and a half was the best we managed to do, but it wasn't close to 10 minutes. And on the day, it just so happened that we landed up in the heat with all the very top athletes who were doing this workout. And I mean, the top athletes, they're going to do this workout in 6-7 minutes, and we're struggling to do it in 10. And it just, as it happened, they all finished. And, my partner and I were still going through the workout, and suddenly we had the whole arena, everyone's finished. And the whole arena is focused on just the two of us because everyone else is finished.
Yeah.
And all the athletes came across, and they were all yelling at us and screaming with us and saying, okay, do this. Boom, boom, boom. And suddenly we finished the workout at, I think, in 9 minutes, 40 seconds or something, which was huge for us.
Crazy.
And we finished in under 10 minutes. But why? Because we had the whole arena was, cheering for us, and we had that huge energy. And I mean, for us, I laugh because I'm shouting, we finished in the time cap. It's so exciting. And everyone's like looking at me like, because they all did it.
They've been waiting for you to finish.
They could have done the workout twice in the time that I took just to finish it. But the win for us was we improved our time so much, and we had the whole energy of the stadium, or everyone that was there, shouting for us, and that adrenaline rush pushed us even further to get to the point where we finished that workout in the time cap. And it was so exciting. And those are things that, we never expected in a million years that we'd be the only two people, what felt like the only two people in the stadium competing at that time. And everybody else is around us shouting and yelling for us and saying, do this, do that, just do one more, just do one more. And that adrenaline pushed us through. And those are the moments that you don't forget.
Yeah.
Because we drew a line in the sand, in October when we sent in our entry, or November, whenever it was, and we said, okay, we're going to enter this comp, and for the next 3 months, and for us, we didn't enter the competition to go out and win.
Yeah.
We entered the competition to get better. That was our whole goal. Was there were quite a few movements that we could not do at the start when we entered, and that was the whole goal, was just get better. So when we get there, we can do those movements. And if we only do 5 and we're supposed to do 50, well, that's 5 more than what we could do in October. And so that was always the goal. It wasn't to go and win any trophies or do anything. It was to win for ourselves, which was to get better and learn some of the movements. So when we got there, that's exactly what happened, is we did those movements. And like the one workout, we did finish. And it was just, those are the things that when you set yourself up to win, you will get a lot of unexpected things that happen. But here's the thing. We worked jolly hard and we put the work in every day. Even a rest day is
still some form of...
A rest day is just as important as the days you work.
Yeah.
And so, every day we put some form of action plan in place, and we were like, okay, today we're going to stretch, today we're going to do this work, this accessory work, today we're doing this movement, so that we could get stronger and fitter and recover as well, so that we were healthy to do the comp. Because that's the other thing that happens, is sometimes you burn out, like you overexert.
Mm.
So in the physical world in CrossFit, we get injured and we get a sore arm or a sore leg, we tear our muscles, that sort of thing. But in the business space, what happens is we hit burnout, or you lose money, or you get home and your wife says, "I want a divorce," or your kid suddenly lands up in hospital, or you have a car accident, or there's all these unseen things because if we go back to CrossFit, in the physical, I'm not present and I trip and fall and twist my ankle. In the business space, I'm not present and a client doesn't pay me. I deliver the service, I deliver the product, the client doesn't pay me, I lose the money. So it's not, it's so important to understand that when you are on a goal, you've got to plan to recover your mental space as well. So for me, when I was working towards this course and the 10,000 US, and I was working a lot of hours, I was very clear with my family. I need you guys to help me. Okay, I am not going to be cooking dinner.
Yeah.
You guys are responsible for cooking dinner because this is when I can. This is what I can do. On Sunday, I am going to be sleeping because I'm going to be exhausted. Okay. If you want my time, that you have Saturday afternoon from 12 to 3. That's the time I can give you, and you book it in my diary now. And those are the things that I used to do. Is that, okay, guys, I'm super busy, right? You need me to fetch you from school at this time. Put it in my diary. Those kind of things, so that I could make sure that I was managing all the pieces of my life, not just and being super focused in terms of work and seeing clients, but making sure that everybody else fitted in. And it almost was like cogs on a wheel turning, because I had to make sure. And then if there were times that I, for example, couldn't fetch my girls from school, I need to take time out and organize somebody to do it, or use Uber, or check a 60, or whatever it was. I needed to make sure. And the same happened in CrossFit, as we needed to make sure we didn't get injured, we recovered well, we checked in on our sleep, how are we making sure we get the 7 to 8 hours a night? Are we doing stretching? Are we drinking enough water during the day? Are we eating enough food? Those kind of things. We had to check all the boxes. Yeah. And so often when we're on a goal and we draw a line in the sand, something goes out, and it may be your food. It's generally food that goes out, because that becomes I'll just get KFC on the way home, or because it's easy. And that's where you need to create a backup plan when things are going to go out, and you draw a line in the sand. You've got to make sure that you tick the box on you get enough sleep, you get enough food, your body, you're setting all those things in place for recovery as well. Because when you reach that goal, and this is why so often, you see people, they go on holiday and they get sick.
Yeah.
It's often the case, people go on holiday and they suddenly get sick. Why? Because suddenly there's this pressure that's been released off of their immune system, and now their immune system crashes. Why? Because the stress was literally keeping their immune system together, and then they go on holiday and it just all collapses because they haven't been eating properly, they haven't been sleeping well, and the body says enough, and then they get sick. And this is why it's so important, when you draw a line in the sand, you look at it from every aspect, because you've got to make sure that you're eating well, you've got to make sure you're drinking enough water, all those kind of things. And you've got to be super deliberate around the insignificant things, like drinking water. Yeah. It seems insignificant at the time, and yes, you can go for 2 days without drinking water, but if you do it for 5 or 6 or 2 weeks, suddenly your system's going to start shutting down because it can't cope anymore. And so it's so important when you draw a line in the sand that you be super deliberate around the small insignificant things, and you put plans in place to cover that. So if you know you're going to be burning the candle at both ends in your business, and you're driving for a goal, make sure that the people around you know, and make sure that they check in with you and make sure that you're eating properly. And, hey, have you eaten a meal today? And it sounds silly when you say it. Have you eaten a meal today? And people go, well, I had a bit of popcorn and no, I actually haven't.
Yeah.
But because you are so focused on, you've drawn a line in the sand,
This
is it, your head down, and nothing's getting in my way, you have to make sure that you get help to help tick those boxes, because those are the things that are going to allow you to keep going and push through when you draw your line in the sand.
And I mean, that's actually a massively important point there, because what ends up happening when you draw a line in the sand and you don't have the right steps, like you're saying, you end up getting in your own way.
Yep.
It's not even the other stuff anymore. Like, it's not even the fact, it's you, because you are now sick, or you are now injured, or you are now this, and then you tend, and I'll speak for myself, like, I draw a line in the sand, I'm going to gym, this is it, I'm going. And after, if you haven't been gymming for a long time, and then you go back into the gym and you decide that you're going to be a superhero, very quickly things happen to your body, and I was shut down. Like, for 2 days, I was like, I couldn't move. And I was like, I don't want to go back to gym. But then I think after, like, we had a processing session, I drew a line in the sand, because I was like, I'm not trying to kill myself, I'm trying to get healthy. And then I got in my own way. And people don't actually realize that, right? And it's like the same in business. Is that, yeah, you want to have this great business, but it's going to take time. So instead of putting yourself and your business in a position of, like, losing money or whatever it might be, rather just set yourself up to win, like you always say, right?
Yeah, and it is. It's just understanding. If I have never run before and I decide I want to run a marathon, I am not going to go from standstill today to running a marathon tomorrow. And the physical is so great, because it's such a great example. People go, yeah, of course you're not going to run a marathon tomorrow. You've never run a marathon. You don't even run down the driveway, you know.
100%.
Like, that would be silly. Of course you've got to build it up. But then when it comes to things like money and business, people expect to be able, in their business, that they're going to start today and run a marathon tomorrow, and you're not going to do that.
You've never started a business in your life.
And so, like the gym, you go to the gym. You're not going to the gym the first month. You're not going to the gym to run your marathon. You're going to the gym to get into the habit of just rocking up. You start your business, you've just got to rock up every single day. You've got to be there, open your doors, and you've got to do something. And you will learn by doing that. You can watch as many reels as you want around how to lift a weightlifting, do a clean and jerk, or a push press, or deadlift. You can watch as many videos as you like and do as much research on it as you can. But I can tell you now, the learning will only happen when you are in the gym and you pick up that bar and you go, oh shit.
Yeah.
Because now you know how much capacity you actually have. And that's why doing the work, you will learn capacity. So you will learn, I can only pick up this bar 10 times. Great.
That's it.
Well, that's 10 more than what you did yesterday. And when you come back on Wednesday, could you do 10 again? And it's the same thing in business. Could you make 5 phone calls, 5 cold calls?
Yeah.
Or tomorrow, could you do another 5? And as you do it, you start to increase your capacity, your ability to make those calls. And yes, it sucks in the beginning. It is hard. Just like going to the gym is hard. But I can tell you what's worse is make 30 calls in one day when you've never made calls before. You will be exhausted. You will be flipping beside yourself. You will spend three weeks going, I'm not making that again. I'm not doing that again, because it was so emotionally draining.
Yeah.
Because you overexerted yourself. And then the third thing, worse than that, is not doing anything at all. So it's create the consistency, and by creating that consistency, you will increase your capacity.
Yeah, that was powerful. Just wanted you guys to get that, because I think a few of you didn't. Once it circled last week, and I think that kind of just expanded more, and that was actually quite epic. Yeah. Any final thoughts before we close off?
Yeah, Yeah, it is. It's important to draw a line in the sand, but also make sure you understand all the pieces of it before you do it. Because otherwise you're going to set yourself up to fail. You want to set yourself up to win.
This is so funny. Because for me it's funny because it's my experiences, right? These are the things that I am going through, and I think a lot of people would think, well, you work with Nicole, you work with Barry, you should be flying. Yeah, okay. I'm not. Just keep it very simple, I'm not. But I'm working towards it. And I think that what Nicole said is so important. Focus on getting yourself to a point to win, instead of focusing on whatever the goal may be, because it may be a massive goal. But if you rather focus on putting yourself in a position to win, you probably get more out of it than anything else. So thank you for joining us on this week's episode of the Uncovering Greatness podcast. Don't forget that you can catch us on Facebook, YouTube, Apple Podcast, Apple Podcast, Spotify Podcast, Google Podcasts, and anywhere else that you listen to podcasts. Hope you guys have a blessed week, and we will see you guys next week for another episode of the Uncovering Greatness podcast. Be awesome. Cheers.
Bye.